you. Okay. Okay, can I advise all of those in the public gallery that they are welcome to use mobile devices as long as they are in airplane mode and that all devices are muted. It's not permitted to take any photographs or record at any point in this meeting. So I'm just going to ask for any declaration of interest in members. Are there any new interests to declare that have not been declared at our first meeting that are relevant to any matters under discussion this week? Okay. I'd just like to welcome again Nicola Brogan once more in terms joining us by Zoom. I do have an apology from Tom Buchanan. Are there any other apologies to record that anybody's aware of? No? Okay, we're going to look at agenda item number 2 in Chairperson's business. At page 5 of your pack is an email from Caroline Moore, the Assembly's Participation and Outreach Manager, with an update on the Older People's Parliament, which is taking place on Saturday the 12th of October at 1 p.m. There is a motion to be debated, which is that this Parliament expresses disappointment with the minimal mention of older people in the draft programme for government, calls on the Executive to place the rights of older people at the centre of the new programme to address issues such as health, housing, transport, loneliness, poverty and safety, and further calls on the Executive to include affirmative, measurable actions in the new programme that will meet the needs of all older people. Members, there is an invitation for the committee to attend and watch proceedings from the public gallery, and there are also plans for a round table meet and greet on the morning of the event with MLAs and organisations from the consultative panel on that. Caroline and her team would need to know if you're planning to attend so that a seating plan can be devised for the meet and greet. Please let the committee team know so that they can liaise with the outreach team. So that's this Saturday, guys. Okay, noted. Okay. Members, item number 2. I'd like to advise you at page 4 of table papers is correspondence dated 7th of October from Minister Muir congratulating me on my appointment as Chair. Minister Muir is keen to work positively and constructively with us. He is also keen to have an introductory meeting with myself and the Deputy Chair in the immediate future. I would like to thank the Minister for his kind words and that we'll make a commitment that the meeting will be organised soon. Members, I would just like to highlight at pages 5 to 6 of table papers is a letter that was sent to all MLAs from the Food Standards Agency regarding the publication of the report entitled Our Food 2023, which has been led in the 4 legislatures across the UK. This report, published by the Food Standards Agency and Food Standards Scotland, is the annual assessment of food standards in the UK. We will be getting, members, a brief from RAISE regarding food policy in Northern Ireland on the 7th of November, so I thought it was just worth highlighting the FSA report. And are you content to note? Okay, thank you. Okay, agenda item 3. I referred to pages 6 to 16 of the pack of the draft minutes dated 3rd of October 24. Have you any comments, or are you content with the minutes as drafted? Okay. If members are agreed, I'll sign them and the team will then publish these on the website. Okay? Yep. Thank you. Agenda item 4, matters arising. I refer you to the response from the Minister dated 1st of October 24, pages 18 to 20 of the pack, in reply to our letter dated 20th of September regarding the Grassroots Mountain Trials Organisation and the Minister's position regarding a policy towards the use of natural wild mountain bike trails. Members, the Minister has concerns about mountain bike trails being developed without providing the assurance of formal agreements to their construction and safe management. He would also have concerns about the absence of mechanisms to ensure that the environment is protected and the Department's duty in respect of sustainable forestry management being met. It is for these reasons that his officials in the Forest Service have engaged with Grassroots MTB and the UK Trails Project to determine the potential for formal arrangements to enable the development and use of the Department's lands. Members, the Minister is happy to continue to engage with the representatives of the UK Trails Project on this matter. Therefore, are you content to note this report? Thank you. Members, I have referred to the response from the Minister dated 7th of October 24 at pages 21 to 24 of the pack in reply to our letter dated the 20th of September regarding the SIB review of the TB Eradication Partnership. You will note that the Minister has asked the Chief Veterinary Officer to review and examine all matters relating to the bovine TB programme and policy, including the actions contained in the bovine tuberculosis eradication strategy and the Department's approach to stakeholder engagement. Members, the officials will provide a written briefing to the DAERA Committee meeting on the 24th of October, including an update on the CVO review. The Department will also provide an oral briefing once that review has been finalised and considered by the Minister. Members, are you content to note? Yep. Okay, item number 3, I refer you to the response from the Department dated 9th of October at pages 8 to 9 of the table pack. In reply to our letters dated 1st of October regarding our request for an oral briefing from the Head of Department's Windsor Framework Implementation Directorate. Catherine Fisher, the Director of the Windsor Framework Implementation, will be happy to attend on the 24th of October and will also arrange to provide a briefing paper in advance of the session on the 24th. The officials wish to support the committee but will only be able to provide evidence on the areas of the Windsor Framework that sit within the direction and control of Minister Muir. Are you content to note? Okay. Thank you, members. Agenda item 5. Now we'll be looking at our oral departmental briefing, which is going to be on the Programme for Government 24-27 and the DAERA Business Plan 24-25. So, members, I refer you to papers at pages 26 to 68 of the pack for this item. DAERA Business Plan 24-25 is at pages 29 to 52. The Department's presentation is at pages 53 to 68. And the full Programme for Government 24-27 is in table papers from pages 8 to 95. Members, at our meeting on the 12th of September, we agreed to write to the Department to seek an oral briefing on the DAERA Business Plan 24-25. In the meantime, the committee has received correspondence from TEO Committee inviting us to respond to the draft Programme for Government. So today we want to explore the linkage between the draft Programme for Government and the measures set out in the DAERA Business Plan. Officials have agreed to brief the committee on both issues. So members, after this briefing we will go into a closed session to discuss the issues that we wish to be included in our response to the Programme for Government. The clerk will then draft the response and it will be in our table pack for next week's consideration. So, without further ado, I welcome the following officials to the meeting. David Simpson, Director of Corporate Planning and Governance, welcome, and Hugh Quinn, Head of Strategic Planning Branch. And just want to see if the members are okay in terms of finding your position in the packs, because there's a lot in the packs and sometimes they're difficult to navigate. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, and I'm going to open up the session now to your briefing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair. Morning, everyone, and thanks for inviting us along today to update the committee on the DAERA Business Plan 24-25 and the draft Programme for Government, doing what matters most. We'll just move you on to second slide, please, on DAERA's key priorities. So, the DAERA plan is built around the priorities that the Minister has already outlined to this committee, with the aim of benefiting our climate and natural environment, while supporting our agriculture, food and fishery sectors in rural communities. In total, there are 34 measures in the plan, split across the Minister's 6 priorities, with a further 6 enabling measures that support delivery. These have been developed taking account of the financial position within which the Department operates. You'll note that while we've assessed them as deliverable within this financial year, some require executive agreement which may impact on their deliverability. In summary, the measures set out how we'll deal with our immediate challenges in the current financial year. They also set the direction around how we'll deliver the Minister's priorities in the longer term. Many of them, you'll note, are cross-cutting in nature, and we're committed to working collaboratively with our partners and stakeholders in delivering this plan. I suppose, just to make you aware, the plan was developed in advance of the draft Programme for Government, but the measures within it have a clear link to the PFG's priorities and missions, and I'll touch on this later. Okay, so the first ministerial priority is tackling climate change together. So you'll see on this slide there are 8 measures to be delivered this year to address this priority. These measures are important in terms of moving us towards delivering the target of net zero carbon emissions by 2050, as set out in the Climate Change Act 2022. You'll know that DAERA leads in the implementation of the Climate Change Act, including the development of the first Climate Action Plan for Northern Ireland, and all departments, the public sector, businesses and wider society have a part to play in this. These measures are cross-cutting. They're designed to ensure that we're on a pathway to achieving net zero in a fair and just way, while ensuring the economy benefits from the opportunities that arise. If I just move on to the second ministerial priority around protecting our natural environment, there's 6 measures that support the priority of protecting our natural environment within this ministerial priority. These are cross-cutting in nature again. They're designed to protect and enhance our natural and marine environment and to address water, air quality, soil health and biodiversity challenges. You'll note that one of the measures set out under this priority is to publish a new environmental improvement plan for Northern Ireland. And you'll also be aware that the Executive recently agreed the environmental improvement plan and that sets out coherent and effective interventions that will collectively deliver improvements in the quality of our environment. Our third ministerial priority is around strengthening environmental governance. This is about ensuring that we have right education, behavioural, legislative, regulatory and accountability frameworks in place to drive improvements in areas such as water quality and waste management. In support of this priority, the plan sets out 4 measures, including the commitment to work with the Department of Justice to carry out a review of fines and penalties for environmental crimes and to identify improvements that bring about a more effective penalty regime. We'll just move on to our 4th measure, which is around supporting sustainable, resilient and productive agri-food and fishing sectors. So in support of this priority, the plan sets out 4 supporting measures, including the commitment to accurately deliver 95% of basic payment schemes to eligible applicants. I suppose by way of an update, to date, direct payments have issued to over 23,000 farmers, which represent 98% of eligible applicants. The business plan, you'll see, also provides a commitment to utilise the Farm Support and Development Programme to support the transition towards sustainable production that benefits our environment and climate and is resilient to external pressures, particularly in the supply chain. We've also committed to bringing forward a new food strategy framework for consideration by the Executive. And by way of an update, the food strategy framework was approved by the Executive in July of this year. It's due to be published later in the autumn. This is also referenced in the draft programme for government. Our 5th ministerial priority is around safeguarding animal health and welfare and plant health. The business plan for this year sets out 9 measures in support of this priority, ranging from bringing forward proposals capable of delivering reductions in the incidences of bovine TB, to bringing forward proposals to ban the third-party sale of pups and kittens in Northern Ireland. I suppose it's important to note that this priority is also important in terms of ensuring continued access to both the GB and EU markets, and the measures are also mindful of the threat of diseases such as avian influenza, African swine fever and blue tongue, which you recently received a briefing on. Our 6th ministerial priority sets out measures that aim to build stronger, connected and resilient and prosperous rural communities. The 3 measures in total, including the commitment to implement the Tackling Rural Poverty and Social Isolation Action Plan, which was approved by the Minister in July. The plan itself, it's derived from the Tackling Rural Poverty and Social Isolation Framework, which focuses on 3 priority areas for intervention of financial poverty, social isolation and access poverty. Mentioned earlier, the plan also sets out a further 6 enabling measures that support delivery. These, I suppose, in a nutshell, these measures explain how we will align our resources to meet these priorities, and how we'll live within the budget allocated to us, while ensuring that expenditure is managed in line with the principles of regularity, propriety and value for money. They also provide a commitment to ensuring we're compliant with our statutory obligations under the Windsor Framework. So I'll move on now. So we've covered our 24-25 business plan. We'll now move on to the draft programme for government and how it intersects with our plan. So you'll already be aware that the Executive agreed a draft programme for government, that it sets out the priorities and policies and actions that aims to deliver, all tied to a budget. It's currently out for public consultation, as you'll know, which closes on 4th of November. And as part of this process, the Executive Office is hosting a series of stakeholder engagement events which are being supported by DAERA staff. And then following the public consultation exercise, the Executive must seek to agree the plan and subject it to Assembly approval. So the draft programme for government set out in 3 clear parts. The first part is doing what matters most, which focuses on the Executive's immediate priorities for this year and throughout its term of government. Building new foundations, which sets out the Executive's ambitions in terms of upgrading infrastructure and services to meet today's needs and future goals, and then shaping a better tomorrow, which centres on 3 long-term missions of people, planet and prosperity, which are all rooted in a commitment to peace. These aspire to improve our life for our communities and to ensure a sustainable environment and collective well-being for present and future generations. Moving on to doing what matters most. So these are the immediate priorities that are set out to support businesses and improve the lives of workers, families and communities. They're not listed in any particular order of importance. Although DAERA's work cuts across a number of them, we have a clear direct link to the priority on protecting Lough Neagh and the environment. So, in relation to protecting Lough Neagh and the environment, the members will be very aware of the issues facing Lough Neagh and the multifactorial issues that have caused it and just how serious the problem is. So, to protect Lough Neagh and the environment, the Executive is proposing a number of DAERA-led actions in the draft programme for government. So the first one is the Lough Neagh Action Plan, which has already been agreed and published by the Executive, and this sets out key proposals to address the issues at Lough Neagh against 4 key pillars of education, investment, incentivisation and innovation, regulation and enforcement. You'll also note that this is referenced as one of the key measures in our 24-25 business plan. The PFG also references the Climate Action Plan and provides a commitment to developing a climate action plan and setting carbon budgets that will help us reach our goal of net zero by 2050. It provides a commitment to publish a new environmental strategy that will be adopted as Northern Ireland's first environmental improvement plan. And as I said earlier, this is one of our business plan commitments and was recently agreed by the Executive. It also proposes a DAERA-led interagency protocol to ensure better monitoring of our water and ensure an early response to any future outbreaks, and a small business research initiative which will explore the potential solutions to treat or reduce blue-green algae blooms. And members may already be aware that phase 1 of the Small Business Research Initiative Challenge Fund has been launched, and that 5 successful suppliers have been selected to develop proof of concepts. Moving on just to reform and transformation of public services, just wanted to touch on this one briefly as it will affect all departments, including DAERA. In short, it refers to the Executive's plans to transform public services, including proposals to set up a reform and transformation unit that will work across all departments, ensuring that the priorities within the PFG get the resources that they need. It also plans to develop a comprehensive reform package that will include a fiscal framework, a sustainability plan and a transformation programme. The draft programme for government is guided by 3 long-term missions: people, planet and prosperity, which are, as I said already, are anchored by a commitment to peace. On people, the Executive wants to create a fair and inclusive society where everyone has the opportunity to thrive, where no one gets left behind. This means tackling issues like inequality, crime and health disparities, and building safer and more resilient communities. On planet, ministers are committed to protecting our environment and natural resources for future generations. This includes promoting sustainable farming, low carbon energy, and the Executive's Climate Action Plan also aims to support people and businesses through this transition. And you'll note that just transition is referenced within our 24-25 business plan. On prosperity, ministers are actively working to attract global investment and boost trade opportunities, making the most of our unique position. And on peace, which underpins everything, ministers are united in their commitment to building on the progress of the past 25 years, ensuring that everyone benefits from lasting peace. I'll just move on to my final slide, and before I invite any questions, this would be an opportune time just to set out to link the measures within the programme for government and how they're set out within our business plan. You'll see that the Programme for Government references DAERA's activities across all three missions, and that there are measures within our business plan that already reflect these. So, for example, under the People mission, it references the Northern Ireland Food Strategy Framework. It also references the importance of the agri-food industry, recognising that it's vital to the economy in rural communities. References disease eradication and animal welfare. Under Planet, you'll see that it references Climate Action Plan, Just Transition, Water Quality and the Environmental Improvement Plan, and under Prosperity, Net Zero. So that concludes my presentation. Happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And if members would just like to indicate, I'll keep a list here. That was really good. Really enjoyed that. And I don't know if it's your first time presenting to the committee or not, but yes, it is.
Yes.
But for both?
Yes. For both, yes.
Well, welcome. This is only my second presentation. This is only my second week, so we're off to a good start anyway. Okay, thank you so much for that, and that was very, very useful. I'm going to just ask you a couple of questions, that's okay, and hopefully it'll be useful. So today, I'm not sure if you're aware, is World Mental Health Day, and it's, I think everybody, all of the parties in here and all of our departments are much more au fait and aware of raising the awareness of mental health and the impacts. But we also know that what impacts mental health probably most is poverty, trauma and loss. Those are the things, and I'm thinking very much of the link between the Just Transition piece that the Minister is working on, but also in the Programme for Government. One of the pillars is actually about to grow a globally competitive and sustainable economy. And I can't help but think of the significant link between achieving an absolute just transition, not just for farmers, but also for all of the businesses that are underpinned in the rural sector. Could you perhaps even flesh that out a little bit further in regard to how the Minister is looking at that just transition, the breadth of the vision in terms of the impact of what that transition might impact upon, and if the impact in around mental health has been picked up as a significant threat, if it's not handled appropriately?
I'm happy to take that question. I suppose, yes, the Just Transition is a key priority for DAERA, and obviously we need to set up the Just Transition Commission on top of that. So I imagine we haven't, obviously engaged with counterparts in Scotland and England, and officials are currently assessing the potential content regulations. I'd imagine as part of those conversations, the areas of concern that you've raised should also form part of that debate. And as something you say, it's not a case that we just want to take one sector or one certain area with us. We want to take everybody as far as possible with us whenever we scope out the Just Transition.
Yeah, my thinking in this is in two parts. One, that there's the ambition to have a growing, thriving economy.
Yes.
And I'm trying to see if certainly if the Department and Minister's ambition is that a just transition will see that one of the markers will be that the economy is equally vibrant and thriving, and it isn't seen as a reduction.
Yes.
And in that, looking at the Scottish and Welsh models, I see that the Welsh model is underpinned by the well-being, so it's underpinned by a well-being objective. So that being the case, there seems to be some flexibility in just transition for the different jurisdictions. Has the Department or the Minister given any direction in regard to what the Northern Irish ambition will be and how it fits?
It's something we can take away with us. We wouldn't be over all the details. We're just kind of a strategic overview of everything here. But yes, we can certainly take that with us and find out if that's been considered as well.
Not a problem. Okay, just my final one before I bring members in. In the business plan, it states that the department will seek to centre just transition on the interests of those that are affected by the low carbon transition. But have you any idea what progress has been made in identifying those sectors here and how that's been done? So we're getting more into the mechanics now.
We just literally went out to get an update on progress against how the actions are being developed. So that commission exercise just went out, so we can touch base on that as well, just to identify any of those questions and come back to you on those as well.
Thank you very much, Hugh. Thank you, David. Declan.
Thank you, Chair. You made reference in your presentation there that 98% of the basic payments have been paid, and that's a very commendable figure for the 10th of October, in fairness. Do you have any assessment going forward as to what budget will be available for that for next year?
Not that we've been made aware of at this stage, but again, I suppose Roger, I believe he was up with yourselves last week, and I believe the October monitoring round will be going ahead as well, so perhaps that might fall part of his considerations. Again, we can take that question back.
Yeah, and I do believe that would be like also a treasury matter in terms of the ring fence budget. You also made reference to the farm support and development programme. Is there any update on that, or timelines, or what shape that will take?
Again, the programme has been currently co-designed with Northern Ireland agriculture industry and the key food and environmental stakeholders. The plan scheme, the measures will contribute to statutory obligations under the Climate Change Act, but the overall aim is to sustain a more sustainable farming sector. We haven't been given an update as to such how far well it's been progressed, but again, we can pick up on those points as well.
Yeah, and just finally, you mentioned a date of March 2025, which is 5 months away now, for the development of a new rural policy. You know, this has already been consulted upon. It's already been here for a long time.
Yes.
So why is it going to take another 5 months?
Again, officials have been up recently, have they, or are due to come up on it? So again, I think they should be better placed to inform on that as well as to where they are and is this deliverable by the end of March.
Well, thanks very much for your presentation. Questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Declan. William, you were next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your presentation. I see here where the Minister's got to reverse the changes to the cross-compliance regime that the previous Minister brought in. Many of those cross-compliance penalties were draconian, and many of the speaking to department officials felt they were draconian and felt that the new guidelines were much fairer to farmers. So, when does the Minister propose to bring this into being?
I believe the consultation is still going ahead with key stakeholders. I believe it had concluded on the 9th of October with proposals that these are introduced in 2025. Again, potential slippage in these things, but I believe it concluded 9th of October, so it might be worth again following that up with the relevant policy leads to see next steps in relation to that.
It will be seen by many farmers that the Minister is one to punish farmers now. Cross-compliance, I believe, is good, but there was, as I said before, many of the penalties were draconian. For instance, for late notification of a permit into your yard, you had 7 days to do that. If you're 8th day, you're into a penalty situation for something very minor. And I believe that the Minister is a backward step. This is a backward step, and will be seen so by the industry and farmers. Okay.
Yep. Enough. Yep. Okay. Thank you. So, John Blair, please.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, to David and Hugh, thanks for this morning. I'm mindful of two things. Firstly, that some of the more detailed questions might be better asked of the respective business areas, and you'll understand my rationale for saying that. And also that, as you may know already, the committee is going to separately consider, as a group, the programme for government and our response to that. So I'm going to hold off on some of my thoughts about programme for government until that, and focus, if I may, on sort of strategic business planning matters for this one. There's some good stuff here. I think I have to comment. For example, the long-awaited environmental improvement plan is now before us in print and in reality. And I think in the context of what the Chair mentioned there about mental health awareness, the current time, the review of rural policy mentioned in the business plan is a good and welcome commitment. There's rural isolation is a key link to what should be a key link, to government policy on all matters of mental health and therefore rural policy. I'm very pleased also to see the commitment to the review of penalties for environmental crimes, and hopefully it will get us to a stage where every person, every business and every sector will know their commitments to comply with the law, just as the rest of us have to do in relation to all matters of law. But go back to the business plan and strategy, if I may. Could you give us any insight into what structures or frameworks are in place to ensure the proper oversight of the cross-cutting issues around climate, for example, and environment more generally? Loch Ness, a good example of where it naturally sits with DAERA, and people will look to there automatically, but we all know the infrastructure responsibilities around water, planning matters could impact there. Is there a set framework for ensuring the cross-cutting responsibilities are kept front and centre of all considerations?
I suppose it's probably more on a sort of case-by-case basis. So, for example, in relation to Loch Ness, the action plan would set out a series of cross-cutting measures, and it's, that's the Small Business Research Initiative that's referenced within the Programme for Government. I suppose that's a really good example of how you work with stakeholders to try and resolve an issue like that.
Yeah, so but the frameworks, committees, structures, working groups, whatever they may be, would they all be the responsibility then of the individual business areas to sort of manage those?
Well, it's probably a combination of both. Individual business areas working with their own key stakeholders that they know and understand. But from a departmental perspective, obviously we have our departmental board and all of our committees, and I suppose each of our respective groups meet regularly, and it is joined up in terms of our thinking.
Okay. Another question, and this is a recurring theme for me on this committee, but it's one I believe is very important. It strikes me immediately that in a department which has responsibility for public estates such as forestry and fisheries, there's no, at least that I can see, there's no overall business planning commitment to public engagement. Was there any consideration given to whether or not there should be a public engagement strategy to show the public what the department does, connect the public better with what you're delivering, etc.? Was that considered at any point?
As in an overarching
as a business
strategy.
Planning policy?
Yes. I think I'm correct in saying that it's probably done on a policy area basis, as in that those people that are developing policies engage directly with the stakeholders and understand the issues better. But I think that's a good point, and maybe something we'll take away.
I would be really pleased if somebody at some point, preferably soon, could have a look at that. Forestry and fisheries are two standard examples, but there are others. Rural policies, another one, for example. We can engage more directly with the public to shape the delivery.
I suppose a lot of these actions aren't taken in isolation. There are a number of public consultation events that does go on, for example, around the ammonia strategy, or around the climate change, or around various aspects of different programmes. So there does be a lot of consultation going on, but as you say, maybe is there one kind of overarching one that maybe could be scoped out a wee bit more?
Yeah, I've mentioned this before, Chair, so apologies for repetition and apologies for no commitment that it won't happen again as well. But the public resource, voluntary resource and knowledge bank that is out there is worth tapping into, and it's another reason why I ask these questions, because there are people committed to matters like the environment, and if they're engaged with the department, it's knowledge that you can glean from them.
Absolutely. Thank you, John.
Thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. That were useful, John. So, Patsy, you're next.
Right, thanks, Chair, and thank you for your presentation. I have a question because, as I think of, I represent and live in a rural area, a very rural area. For me, rural development embraces so many things, and you have them sporadically mentioned through some of them, and some of them touched upon. Like, say for example, the most extreme form of rural isolation for me is the elderly person, often disabled, not able to get out of their house, not able to get a domiciliary care package, right, which is clearly health and the health trust. Other aspects of it would be, say, education, schools. Other aspects would be job creation and the ability to create jobs. The other aspects would be rural housing and the ability to create, why I'm saying ability, because in many of those instances that's constrained by sewage and the capacity of the local sewage disposal work, if there is one, to develop as well. So my point being is that there's a multiplicity of issues there that, in my mind, and there's probably many more, but just off the top of my head today, that affect rural development and impact upon rural development. My question is, that can't all be lumbered with DAERA, right? My question is, strategically, how are departments working together to attempt to even address these issues in a strategic way? Is there a structure, is there a framework? It's supposed to be an executive, but on occasion we see that working in a silo way. Is there a structure, a strategic structure of, if you like, the civil service, which is driving these issues collectively together and addressing these issues now? A document on rural development that you're mentioning there, a rural policy document, is welcome, but these aren't issues that haven't been unknown to government for many, many, many years. So that's my question to yourselves, whether you can answer it today or maybe your colleagues that are going to present on rural policy are more best placed to do that or not. But it is something that's running through my mind because I see all these things affecting our rural communities. Some instances positively, and there could be learning from that drawn, but in other instances you say to yourself, well, who's joining up the dots here?
Yes, I suppose maybe I'll take that one. Okay. I suppose in a sense to address your broader point around the framework, I guess that's what the programme for government is there to do, you know, is to collectively address those issues. But in terms of rural isolation, I completely take your point that it's not just something that can be addressed by our department. Probably can't speak authoritatively on rural policy per se, but I know that they will be working with other departments to consider those issues and undertake public consultation exercises. So one of the things that you referred to is, I suppose...
My point is, David, these aren't unknown to government and aren't unknown to public representatives for years. My point is, and if you don't know the answer to this, that's grand, you can write to us or whatever. What structure is there in place to make sure that collectively, at civil service level, somebody's collating all these issues and saying, that's rural development, or that's rural isolation, or that's rural housing policy, and making sure that it is done strategically? That's my point.
I think we can take that up with the policy leads. But as you know, Patsy, there is work goes on. For example, we would work with DFC on with Department of Health, for example, you know, on farm health programs or on assisted travel schemes with DFI, you know, where we would allocate some funding as well for people in rural areas. But I take your point, there needs to be some kind of higher level.
I get that, but throwing a grant at it isn't strategy. That's my point. Mm-hmm.
Yes, but we'll take that away as well.
Aye, okay, thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Patsy. It's quite a good line of question, actually. And I'm sure you'll not be able to give the answer on this, but I'm more than keen for you to take it back. There's a wider discussion in regards to the impact that hybrid working will have, not just in the short term, but the longer term, because you picked up the piece on loneliness. Mm-hmm. And I can't help but think of the link between what is expedient today in most of our lives, which is thinking it's great to do a bit of hybrid working, but actually the loss of links that gives us with the face-to-face, in-person, and the failure then to build relationships which are lasting, which are probably the linchpin to loneliness. Just I'm wondering, perhaps within the Department of Agriculture in particular, but also I accept that this is a wider matter for the executive and particularly probably the Department of Economy, but is there a piece of work in regard to that, the rural dwellings, the rural poverty, the whole rural infrastructure in regards to what the impact of hybrid working might be, not just today, but in the longer term, taking into account the ambition to tackle loneliness particularly and mental health issues? But I don't know if you have anything to, if you've picked it up at all in any of the discussions.
Not something I'm aware of, but we can take that one away.
Brilliant. No, I appreciate that. Thank you so much, and thanks for that, Patsy.
Chair.
Michelle?
Thank you, Chair, and mindful actually of comment that John Blair made in regards to maybe looking at specifics that maybe you can't address, but I suppose given that you're here and this is a session on this, I think it would be remiss of me maybe not to look at it, but thank you very much for your presentation. Within the business plan, items 35 to 37, it's sort of focused in relation to science and research. And one of the targets says what we're going to do is we're going to transform DAERA's science system to enable us to enhance its use for policy and programme development. We'll ensure our staff resources are aligned to meeting our priorities and deliver our commitments in the departmental capacity and capability plan. I'm curious as to what that means and what that will mean for AFBI, if you can answer that.
Yeah, so I'm actually AFBI's senior sponsor as well, so I know a little bit about them. Yeah, so I suppose transforming the DAERA science system it's ensuring that we get I suppose world-leading science that informs all of our activities around climate change. AFBI is engaged within the Science Transformation Programme. It's a key stakeholder, and we work closely with them on that.
Okay, well, I suppose there's some part of that actually concerns me because obviously there has been a criticism of the programme for government in general with regards to there's no direct focus on the agri-food sector, and obviously AFBI have been instrumental in the development of that. So I'm curious as to how the new focus will align with what they were doing and whether that will be completely departed from or it will be working in parallel.
Whenever you say working in parallel,
well, that you will still be continuing to do the work in order to support the agri-food sector, or whether the focus will change to looking at climate change and environment and so on.
I think there's probably, I'm right in saying that an awful lot of what we do is statutory. So, there are statutory obligations. So those will still be required to be delivered. So, for example, testing that AFBI currently undertakes, that would still be required in future, if that makes sense.
Okay, it's just the fact that the word was transform, so I was curious as to what that meant and what that would look like going forward. Okay, the other thing just would be with regards to point on the antimicrobial resistance implementation plan that you're working on with the Department of Health, and I suppose maybe you could come back with information with regards to that as to whether that then is linked to the National Action Plan on AMR, and if you had any more details with regards to what that was.
We can come back, we'll check that with our veterinary colleagues and come back on that there.
That would be helpful, thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Yep, thank you. Okay, just all on the back of that, then Patsy had indicated, and William. So, Patsy,
Just a very brief question. I see there that the department had committed to, it's a pretty big issue somewhere in rural areas for farmers who are interested in it. The department had committed to 9,000 hectares of woodland being planted from 2020 to 2030, and the document says that the Forest Service is to plant 600 hectares of new woodland by aiding landowners. My question is that of that commitment to 9,000 hectares, how much has been planted or assisted to plant to date?
From 2020 to...
Yes, of that 9,000 commitment.
We'll come back with proper figures
that's
on
okay.
that one as well.
Thank you.
I think there's a bit to do on that too.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you,
All right,
Patsy.
Chair, thanks.
no, thank you, and William.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Just in relation to the reverse of changes made to crossing compliance, those changes are going to be in the entirety of the previous minister's decisions to change the rules in cross compliance. We will reverse the changes made to cross compliance penalty regime. Is that in the entirety? Is that the total? All of cross compliance are going to be changed. Is that what you're saying?
I am actually not sure whether that's all
Isn't
of the cross compliance regime or just particular changes, but I can come back to you on that one.
I think it's important that we know what the changes in business are. Okay.
Thank you. William. Are there any more questions, Chris? Anya?
Just a,
Yes.
a quick one from myself, Chair. In relation to the 24-25 budget and indeed the department's business case, what exactly is the criteria or rationale used when it comes to making decisions in line with Section 75 obligations?
275 has to be considered in everything we do. And I suppose whenever the executive allocates out the budgets, which was done back in April this year, the Minister then allocates that out to the individual groups in their department who then have to consider what the priorities are that they're looking to deliver, that then reflects the measures that we capture within the business plan. It's probably not the answer, the detailed enough answer that you want, but it's definitely something I can follow up on as well for you.
Any other follow-ups from any of the members? No. Okay. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. I think you will agree that the members have been very fair today. Can't promise that the next time you come. But no, thank you very much for your brief and for answering the questions. And we look forward to the follow-up information as promised. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, members, we will now go into closed session as discussed before to prepare a response on the programme for government for the executive.
Committee Room 21. Sound. 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 Committee Room 21. Sound.
Good. Okay, that's us now back into public session. Thank you very much for a very useful session, members. And I refer you to table papers at pages 97 to 100 for a written briefing from the department on the bovine genetics programme that it intends to commence delivery of in 2024. The aim of the project is to deliver improvements in both the environmental performance and productivity of animals in the bovine livestock sector. It will do this by providing farmers with the data and evidence necessary to breed more efficient, healthier animals with a lower carbon footprint and lower pollution potential. Members, this project is one of the components of the Farm Support and Development Programme. The Department of Finance approved a capital spend of 55.6 million and a resource spend of 1.6 million over the first 10 years of the project. The capital budget will fund the delivery of the required ICT infrastructure, genetic expertise, genomic evaluations and benchmarking services to deliver the objectives. The project will facilitate animal feed efficiency, which in turn reduces greenhouse gas emissions, nitrogen and phosphorus excretions. It will also facilitate genetic improvement for reduced enteric methane emissions, thereby contributing to the achievement of the targets to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. In the next steps, the procurement exercise has established a preferred service provider and award of contract is expected during October 24. The service provider will provide the ICT infrastructure, genetic expertise, genomic evaluation and benchmarking services. So members, within 12 months of the contract award, CAFRE will deliver a suite of knowledge transfer and innovation programmes to ensure that farmers have the knowledge to use the information provided by the project, to facilitate effective farmer engagement and to deliver the behavioural change required. Are members content to note that the department will update the committee in due course?
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Agenda item 8. the Environmental Improvement Plan for Northern Ireland. Members, I refer you to papers in the packet, pages 72 to 143. There's a letter from the department dated the 27th of September laying of the Environmental Improvement Plan and the Environmental Improvement Plan itself. The EIP is included in the pack today for information. We'll be receiving an oral briefing on the plan in mid-November. In the introduction to the Environmental Improvement Plan, the Minister states we currently face stark environmental challenges apparent in many parts of Northern Ireland, including most notably at Lough Neagh. We are witnessing huge biodiversity loss, warmer and wetter climates, and an environment that is infinitely more polluted. It is vital that we harness the growing awareness in relation to these existential issues and implement real and lasting change for generations to come before it's too late. And the plan is set out with 8 strategic objectives. 1, sustainability. 2, global climate and biodiversity action. 3, green growth strategy. 4, Northern Ireland Climate Action Plan 2023 to 37. 5, the environment, governance and cooperation. 6, agriculture, food and environment. 7, marine environment. And 8, built and historic environment. So members, as I said, an oral briefing on this matter is planned for mid-November, so are you content to note in the meantime?
Yes, Chair, content to note. However, I suppose the work of the EIP very much is linked to the work around Lough Neagh as well, so many of these things are reflected and mirrored. The UFU obviously were concerned with regards to the EIP and the lack of references to the sewage system, the wastewater system, and the need for upgrading of that type of infrastructure. And obviously then, by default, then the blame then naturally then goes pointed then again towards farmers. And I know whenever the Minister has been here and officials have been here, whenever they have been questioned, they have given the impression that it should be a little bit more balanced than that. So I suppose there is that general concern, and I suppose we need to be mindful of that, that we maybe are targeting as one sector because it falls within agriculture, environment, rural affairs, and forgetting that there are others who do play quite a role in polluting our waterways, etc., etc. So I suppose I know that this is just for noting, but at the same time, I suppose I felt that it was I needed to articulate that because there are concerns with regards to the focus of the EIP.
I think that's fair. I was reading, trying to get around again the percentages in terms of the impact, and I was reading the piece in and around, for instance, septic tanks and the prevalence of that, and I have to declare an interest as a septic tank user. I'm very aware of the impact that has. Also, I haven't read anywhere in regards to, for instance, microplastics and all of the other types of pollution that would be evident, and maybe certainly when we get the briefing I'll be interested in some of the teasing out a wee bit more in that. Any other matters for members in regard to that point? No? Okay. Agenda item 9, correspondence then. Members, at pages 146 to 147 of the pack is the correspondence memo. At 9.2, I'm going to refer you to correspondence dated 27th of September. It's in the packet, pages 148 to 149, regarding consultation, disposal facilities for solid radioactive waste, guidance on requirements for authorisation, otherwise known as GRA. This is to advise the committee that the Minister has agreed to DAERA's participation in a public consultation exercise on the disposal facilities for solid radioactive waste. Guidance on the requirements for authorisation, which will extend to Northern Ireland. The public consultation exercise on the new guidance will take place in England, Wales and Northern Ireland, and is expected to commence in October 24. There are no radioactive waste disposal facilities in Northern Ireland, but the guidance is nonetheless relevant as radioactive waste from here is disposed of through the incineration facilities in GB. This means that registered holders of radioactive substances here need to know what requirements will apply to radioactive waste disposal facilities. Members content? Yes, Patsy.
Just on that point, Chair, maybe we could seek clarity from the department that in fact there isn't any radioactive waste currently being disposed at any facility here in the north at the moment, and that in fact that reassurances would be given to the likes of ourselves, the public representative, that wouldn't be the case.
So that would, yeah, and I can see how perhaps obviously would need to be a register for holding radioactive material, and then and is that register reflective of the disposal then? And then
why I say that, Chair, is that there's quite a bit of public narrative out there, and has been for a number of years now, that the executive or that the department is making plans for the disposal of radioactive waste here in the north. That narrative is out there, and it's to get reassurance that in fact that isn't the case.
Happy?
Thank you.
Members?
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. That's it. Okay. Members, I refer you to correspondence dated 19th of September in the packet, pages 150 to 155, regarding a timing of free allocation rule for lots of acronyms. Changes for the second allocation period of the first phase of the UK emissions trading scheme. So free allocations of UK ETS allowances is the main policy instrument through which carbon leakage risk is currently addressed in the UK. An operator needs to buy fewer allowances to cover their emissions, in effect reducing the carbon price they pay and mitigating the risk of carbon leakage. The purpose of this letter is to advise the Committee of the UK Emissions Trading Scheme Authority's decision to delay making changes to free allocation rules until January 27, and advice of a short targeted consultation which seeks views from UK ETS participants on the approach to implementing this decision. The original intention was to legislate for any changes resulting from the FAR 2 consultation ahead of the second allocation period. However, the majority of respondents to FAR 2 have been calling for a delay to changes to align with the UK Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, which is the CBAM introduction in 2027, which was my bedtime reading last night. This targeted technical consultation is expected to remain open for 2 weeks and will be emailed to all UK ETS participants in September 24. Are members content to note? Yep, thank you. At 9.4, members, I refer you to correspondence dated 29th of September in the pack, pages 156 to 308, which is regarding publication of the air pollution in the UK 2023 report by DEFRA, which was tabled on the 26th of September. The 2023 assessment of compliance is detailed in section 4 of this report and demonstrate that Northern Ireland met the limit values, targets, values and objectives for all the noted pollutants monitored in the country, with the exception of the long-term objective for ozone. However, only 1 out of the 43 zones in the UK were compliant with this objective. The full report can be accessed from the link in their correspondence. Are members content to note the report?
Yeah.
Thank you. 9.5, members, I refer you to correspondence dated 30th of September in the pack, pages 309 to 311, from the Healthy Air Northern Ireland, which is a coalition of 9 partner organisations formed in 2022, bringing together health and environmental expertise to tackle air pollution here. The organisation would like to brief the committee regarding the need for a draft strategy, associated legislation act and funding. Are you content to add this to our list of briefings and to forward the paper to the department for comment?
Yes.
Thank you. 9.6, members, I refer you to correspondence in your packet, pages 312, 315, regarding the Strategic Investment Board NI Investing Activity Report from DAERA from September 24. The ISNI delivery tracking system is an executive initiative designed to collate up-to-date information on the status of projects and their underlying investing activities. This report is a summary of the projects and investing activities which have been entered on the DTS by DAERA. Are members content to note?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At 9.7, I refer you to the Youth Assembly newsletter dated 30th of September. It's in the packet, pages 316 to 322. It outlines the work that the Youth Assembly has undertaken since returning from summer recess. I would like to take the opportunity to commend the Youth Assembly on their work. Are you content to note, members?
Yep.
Thank you. 9.8, members, I refer you to correspondence in the packet, pages 323, 326, dated 30th of September from the Department regarding the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, AFRA, Interministerial Group. The Minister attended the group meeting on the 16th of September, and a new and ambitious terms of reference was agreed to guide ways of working and decision-making at ministerial and official levels across the EFRA. The group agreed to publish the terms of reference, which would be good because they're calling them ambitious. It's available to look at on the DAERA's website. Are you content to note and refer to the website for further information? Mm-hmm. Okay. 9.9, members, I refer you to correspondence in the pack at pages 327, 329, dated the 7th of October from Mr. O'Donnell, the Sustainability Director at NSERC. NSERC are a glass container manufacturer and bottler with their HQ in Derrylin, Fermanagh, and 2 further premises in Cheshire and Bristol. Mr. O'Donnell states that NSERC have been a long-time supporter of replacing fossil fuels with biomethane in the already established gas network infrastructure, and they are an energy-intensive business and have identified biomethane as a key component of their business mission for zero carbon by 30 to produce zero emissions of glass bottles by 2030. Mr O'Donnell has offered to host the committee at Derry Lynn. Are you content to add this to our list of potential visits?
Yep.
Thank you. 9.10. I refer to your correspondence in the packet, pages 329, 330, dated 3rd of October from the Department regarding the air quality call for Peace Plus investment area 6.1. This is under theme 6, building and embedding partnership and collaboration. The funding figure for the air quality project is €6.5 million. The Department has been engaging with their counterparts in the Republic of Ireland to develop this cross-border air quality project call under Peace Plus. The three main work streams contained in the call documentation for air quality project are air pollution from solid fuel burning, transport-related air pollution, and ammonia pollution in agriculture and effects on biodiversity and sensitive ecosystems. The special EU programme body is facilitating a pre-application workshop on the 15th of October, and the air quality call will then go out on the 17th of October and run until the 16th of January 25. Are you content to note?
Yeah.
Okay. Members, at 9.11, I refer you to correspondence in your pack at pages 331, 337, dated the 3rd of October. This is the written ministerial statement to the Northern Ireland Assembly on the update on the Executive Budget Sustainability Plan. The Department of Finance Budget Sustainability Plan, October 24, is at pages 339 to 395. It's for your information, and are you content to note? 9.12, members, I refer to your correspondence in your packet, pages 395 to 399, dated 3rd of October from the Clerk to the Committee for Finance regarding unfilled vacancies across the Northern Ireland Civil Service. There has been an increase in vacancies, with the most significant being DFC and DERA. Explanations have been provided for these. Vacancies are highest at the Administrative Officer grade and in the General Service group. Members, the Committee for Finance asked if there was an impact on service delivery. However, the Northern Ireland Civil Service HR doesn't hold that information. Vacancies are being filled by temporary means. The committee has now brought this to our attention. Has any of the members any comments on this item? No. I propose that we write to the department to ask for their comments regarding the current vacancies within the department and the levels and the impact to services, and also I suppose to reflect on the actual vacancies that are being filled by temporary workers at the moment and the implications of that on their budget, I think, is a point of note. John, yeah?
Yeah, a quick one. First of all, we've been told a number of times about recruitment freezes or recruitment simply not taking place because of budgetary pressures. Would we be able to put in the letter seeking some clarification over how much recruitment there's been in the past 5 years, for example, that might well relate directly to the number of vacancies?
Yeah, absolutely. Totally. With that. I think it's interesting, that one. If we, the Minister for the Communities obviously made a very welcome announcement this week about 1,000 jobs for DWP, but if we can't fill the jobs, depending on the grade that they will be seek to be filled at, are we able to go on to fulfil that ambition if we can't fulfil?
Will we seek clarification as well on whether or not they are civil service jobs or contracted jobs?
Yeah, I think that'd be useful, yeah.
Sorry.
I think this is the announcement by the Minister for Communities this week on the DWP linked jobs, whether they will be civil service jobs or filled in a contract. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, members, 9.13. I refer to your correspondence in the pack at pages 400 to 402, dated 3rd of October from the Clerk to the Committees for Finance regarding the UK Shared Prosperity Fund and a replacement scheme from 2025. DOF has indicated that officials continue to press Whitehall officials on the urgent need for clarity, and has noted that further information will be made available by the UK Government at the autumn statement on 30th of October, and that the committee will be updated as soon as possible after that date. Are members content to note? Useful debate last week in and around that in the Chamber. 9.14, members, I refer you to correspondence in the packet, pages 403, dated the 3rd of October from the Windsor Framework Democratic Scrutiny Committee. At its meeting on the 3rd of October, the committee heard oral evidence from DERA on a proposed EU regulation on the welfare of dogs and cats and their traceability. The DSC has agreed to monitor the proposed new legislation, and the clerk has queried with DAERA if this is something we should be briefed on, as the proposed regulation will be of interest to this committee. In the meantime, are you content to note? Thank you. 9.15 members, I refer you to an invitation in the packet pages 404 to 406 dated the 4th of October from the Chief Executive Officer of the Irish Bioenergy Association. Mr Finnan has invited members of the committee to the 23rd National Bioenergy Conference on Thursday the 10th of October, which is today, so you'll need to jump in your cars if you're going to Dunleary in County Dublin. This invitation was sent to you by the committee team by email last Friday. 9.16 members, I refer you to pages 407 to 418 of the pack for the 23rd report of the Examiner of Statutory Rules. The Examiner has not drawn special attention to SR 2024-171, the HOP Certification Amendment Regulations 2024. You will recall at the meeting on the 26th of September, the committee agreed to put down a prayer of annulment in the Business Office. The debate is planned for October the 14th. Are you content to note? Thank you. 9.17 members, I refer you to correspondence from the Office for Environmental Protection, OEP, at pages 419 of the pack, regarding its investigation report published on the 7th of October. It concluded that DAERA failed to comply with environmental law in relation to its previous ammonia emissions advice, which was the operational protocol. However, the interim framework guidance that has replaced the operational protocol does not amount to a failure of environmental law, so the investigation has now been closed. Does anyone have any comments on this? Given that the OEP investigation is now closed? Okay, content to note, thank you. Okay, item number 10 in our agenda is the forward work programme, members. So I refer you to the draft forward work programme in the table papers at pages 102 to 104, where next week we will note that we are holding a meeting in the Mount Stewart estate to hear from the National Trust officials regarding sustainable farming and woodland management. A map will be included in your pack for next week. We will be visiting Caffrey Lockery College in Cookstown on the 21st of November and propose to ask briefings from the following groups: Rural Development Group, NI Rural Women's Network, Rural Support and Rural Action. Therefore, depending on the number of groups that you wish to hear from, we may need to consider a few options for the format of the meeting: a longer meeting to hear from them in public session, or our usual format meeting followed by a more informal session with these groups. First of all, are there any other groups that anybody is aware of that may seek to take the opportunity?
I don't think you mentioned Rural Community Network in that list, did you?
Just want to say that. You're based in Cookstown.
RCM. Yeah.
It's fine.
Okay, I'll have to get used to that. My wife's a nurse, and RCN to her means something completely different. So I'll make sure not to invite the Royal College of Nursing. Although I think they might enjoy a tour of Caffrey and Loch. Any other groups, guys? Yeah, I'm happy to add that. Yeah.
They're based in Cookstown as well.
Okay. Then in terms of the format for that, guys, so is there any anticipated numbers for that in regards to, and what does the layout at Caffrey in terms of how we would facilitate that?
We were sort of just waiting to finalise exactly who the committee wanted to hear from.
Okay. Well, 21st of November is
with time
okay.
to.
So if we could then try and drill down on the numbers and stuff, then that would probably inform us better as to how we would facilitate the meeting. Is that okay?
Yes, Chair, but we sort of can facilitate it. You know, if you want to hear from them in public, then we may need to allow, if we want to allow those 5 groups to brief in public. But if you'd rather have a more informal session, we can do our normal meeting first, usual business, and then do more of an informal stakeholder thing. It's really up to the committee, entirely up to the committee. Declan, you
would have good links with a lot of the groups. Do you think you would prefer?
You probably would have a more free-flowing conversation if it wasn't in public,
Informal?
I would imagine it'd be more free-flowing.
I'm happy with that. And then if members are content with it, we could do the informal meeting with them after we've done our formal business, but then there'd be a paper obviously in terms of what was covered in the informal meeting for further consideration, if that's okay. I think you're right in terms of
and as long as they'd be clear that the same seriousness is attached to
Absolutely.
informal as formal, there's no difference in that.
Sorry, Michelle, go ahead.
I was going to suggest, I'm obviously conscious of the fact that there have been other committees have had committee motions and so on, that if we were going to do something like a mini inquiry or have an outcome such as a committee motion, that it means particularly around rural communities, because I am mindful of the debate that we had earlier in the week, and obviously Patsy had amended to include the issues around Pillar 2. But I think, sadly, because it was an amendment and we were focused on our own amendments and debate, that there wasn't probably enough focus given to the issues pertaining to Pillar 2. That if the groups knew that they were actually participating in something which would lead to, I think that their contributions perhaps would be different, and their preparation also might be different. So I suppose that's something that maybe we want to look at, about you know, what the outcome will be of those presentations. Because I am conscious that over the last number of weeks we have had many presentations, but the people have come, they presented and they've left, but we haven't, maybe there's things we will naturally follow up on because they're coming through as policy or whatever else, but I think in order to give them justice, we need to give consideration as to what the outcome should be. That was very long-winded, apologies.
In fairness, if say for example, if you were to look at the possibility of a committee motion or something coming through, a cross-party committee motion around some of this, something, you know, that would be
that would be useful. There's there's a few committee motions now starting to make their way into the plenary, which is very useful, obviously, because it's a really good outlet for the capture of useful meetings, and people can see an outworking from that. John?
I agree totally with what Michelle said there, but I was prior to that just going to suggest it probably feeds directly to that. It may be worth, whilst calling an informal session, still to give the people at least 5 minutes to present on their overall aims and objectives and high-level issues that they have, so that we have something to discuss when we go into a more discussion-focused hour or whatever it is, hour or two with them.
No, it's actually quite good timing too. I think you're right, John. We've got the Rural Policy Unit briefing the week before for ourselves, which puts us on the track, hopefully, and hopefully there will already be some value in that, because we'll have some sense of the departments.
And perhaps we could have this morning setting where we've all the groups in the room while one of them is giving a presentation, whereas the committee structure here means one group comes in and then they leave again. But this could be a more inclusive process there if we all stay in the same room before we discuss.
The other thing was, I think the first on your list there, Robbie, was the rural support networks. There's those rural support networks there's like 11 throughout the north in each council area. They're funded by DAERA to deliver like the rural micro grants, stuff like that. It might be practical to have all 11 giving evidence at the same time, so one or two could give evidence on behalf of the others. But it'd probably be appropriate to let people know that you could make sure there's enough seats if there's a public gallery. Say for example, if there's one or two groups presenting for those rural support networks, that others could come and if they wanted to sit in the public gallery, just let them know that option's there as well if they want to,
Yeah, I think that'd be really useful. I think it's a good point that you make, actually, because there are lots of disparate groups there, but if we could identify the key stakeholders to make the presentations, and also to get the best out of it, I mean, it is, I suppose we need to ensure that we have the sense of the scale of the room and so on, that we don't, if people do travel distances, to be there. So I think we do need to know who's coming in that sense. Would there be any catering arrangements or anything? Is there?
Well, we can look into that once we've got a feel from these groups as to how many people they want.
Okay, content. Michelle?
No, I'm just thinking, because this is now being expanded out, we also have a departmental oral briefing on the Nutrients Action Programme, which could take a little bit of time. Would that be better to be moved to another day so that we focus really on the rural partnership groups? Because there's no point in bringing them up if they've only got collectively 45 minutes or an hour.
Chair, well, we could, I mean, the timing, obviously it's up to members how long they wish their meeting to go on to, but because we're out of the building and we've no one following us, it can, we can, if we're going to go into an informal thing, it could take place over lunchtime type of thing. Or
just conscious really of the time if we do have a departmental briefing as well.
Yeah. No, we'll bear that in mind, but it'll be up to the committee then. We'll come back with a bit more of a shaped out thing, and then
I think that'd be useful. I think one of the things I think is useful when you do the kind of the roadshows is that they do see the business that you do as well. But I do get your point, which is focusing on, if we're going to go there and bring them in, we need to give them value and ensure that we do have enough time to ensure that we hear what they've got to say, either get a chance to respond or fashion, yeah, we can.
If we needed to do the public consultation, that piece, maybe we could do it on the Tuesday in here and any other business, just to allow us
Yep.
that freedom to meet with those groups.
Yep.
Because I've been out on these sorts of things before, and you know, they put a lot of effort into it, and I think that we should respect that.
I think so.
Logistically, in terms of people getting there for a 10 o'clock start, I take it that is that
Okay.
generally
Yeah.
okay?
Sounds fairly central to the whole of the north.
I was just going to move it to Lisburn to make it handy.
That's right bit for me.
It's 25 minutes.
That's about 25 miles.
Anyway,
No, looking forward to it. I visited Caffrey a couple of years ago. It's an excellent spot. Okay, we're content then. We'll just come back with a bit more detail on that, and then
now
we'll be able
that
to.
now that we have a more firmed up
I
list.
think in fairness, John, me and you were in consultation there before, so we were. And I remember when I was in the old DRD committee, we had public or a meeting there as well. So it's good enough fairness.
It's a good venue for it, it really is.
Fairness, you know.
Yep.
Brilliant. Okay, guys. Thank you. Okay, members. With regard to next year's Balmoral show, already, the clerk has spoken with the participation and outreach manager at the Assembly, as the Assembly is planning a present at the show in 2025. Outreach has requested information about what options there would be if a committee wanted to hold a public meeting at the show. These options will be sent to the clerk as soon as they are received. The outreach team are meeting early next week to discuss how best to coordinate the Assembly's presence, and will then coordinate with the clerk. So can I seek maybe committee's preferences in taking this forward, perhaps as a piece of work? I mean, would the committee feel it useful to hold a committee meeting at the show in that public forum? Is it a possibility? And I'm sure all of us have been there and supported it.
Yeah.
And
I think it makes sense, doesn't it? You know.
Yeah.
I'd be keen. I think it would be a really good platform.
Could we tailor the business to be, you know?
Yeah, I think. Yes, absolutely. I think that's really important, actually.
Yeah, the committee did do it one time in the past.
Were you on it, William?
It was
What was it like?
it was fine.
Now, did you take part? Now, did you any interest to declare, or are you okay?
But in fairness, like I'd be there most days of the show, and like I always find it a bit unusual on the Thursday, and I driving past the show to go up here for the era committee and then drive back there. You know, it just seemed more sense to. But I do recall the first year of it. Now it happened. There was serious traffic gridlocks. There was. And I was sitting for 3 hours outside, and I knew I'd missed the meeting because but that gridlock has been resolved now.
Yes.
We did discuss it when we came back in February but it just wasn't possible to arrange anything in the time. So the committee didn't have a presence, and the Assembly didn't have a presence last May there either. But there's time to resolve.
No, I think that's one of the omissions, because you can see most of the departments are there, and it's a really good aspect of the show now. Actually, I think really we should be there. So if we can indicate then that is the direction of travel, that we're going to commit to that, if it's feasible and deliverable, that we will hold.
Could I suggest as well, Chair, that apart from engagement with the main hosts, which would be a given at a meeting, that we might try to focus on if there are groups or parts of the industry there that we haven't met with during the year, that we try to spend some time with them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's very useful, and it probably drives to William's point about the purpose and the content. And I'm very conscious that anytime I've been to the show, there's a high number of young people at it. It's a great opportunity for young farmers and those young people who live in the rural community. I'd throw that in just so that we don't lose it. That's possibly something we examine, whether it's maybe rural schools, maybe it's young farmers or something. It's maybe a great opportunity to give them a bit of a platform, perhaps, on the day, if we can coordinate that. And then if there's obviously, as members are thinking about this, we can flesh it out. But I think again the key thing is, if we're looking at participation, it's early notice, especially for young people. If they're it's during the school period, and it needs to be fit in with their educational piece as well.
And the show takes in the full breadth of what we do.
It absolutely does.
Rural affairs, it takes in the full breadth of it, so it's very appropriate, I think, that we do there.
Brilliant. Okay.
Chair will continue to work with outreach and see what's feasible. Thank you.
Okay, so if you're content, we will put that in the forward work plan and have that as a published item. Okay. Okay, members, it's 12 o'clock. Is there any other business?
I think so.
No other business. Okay. The date and time and place of the next meeting will be Thursday the 17th of October in Mount Stewart. The meeting will commence in public session at 10:30 with the informal discussions starting at 10 a.m. And if that...
With Ray's, I should have written that
That's
down.
okay.
That's a half hour with
Okay,
Ray's
with a half hour
on
piece
some
with Ray's
matters.
at 10 o'clock.
Thank you.
Informal. Okay, guys. The meeting is now closed.
Committee Room 21. Sound.